How are you, class? Hope you've been keeping well. In our previous lesson, we went through the course outline for Foundations of Physical Education, Gymnastics, and Soccer. And we said that today we are going to look at the definitions of terms that are associated to this particular course. Now, the definitions of terms that are very relevant to this particular course that are going to be cutting across are things like the word play. Who can tell me what it means by the word play? Most of us play every day. So who can tell me what is the meaning of the word play? Now, when you talk about play, play refers to these activities that are engaged freely for amusement or joy. That means to keep yourself happy, to make yourself happy because you enjoy what you're doing. That's what you call play. Another one that is very vital is physical activities. Now, when you talk about physical activities, we look at the bodily movement that are normally produced by contraction of the skeletal muscles. And these particular skeletal muscles that are normally contracted beyond what you call the baseline level. Now, when you talk about the expenditure of energy above the baseline level, is when you're looking at, you're doing an activity when you're not seated, when you're not asleep. So that means mere waking up and walking from one point to another, you're utilizing energy above the baseline level, and therefore that's a physical activity. Another word you're going to define is the word exercise. Exercise refers to the physical activity that is planned, structured. So I want you to get the key ones here. Planned, structured, and repetitive. Those are the three key ones: planned, structured, and repetitive. So these are not physical activities that you just wake up and do. They are things that are already planned. The activities that are planned, you do it today, on a Monday, on a Wednesday, on a Friday. When you come to the other week, that is the same routine you use. That means it's something that is repetitive, it is planned, and at the same time, it is structured the way you're going to do it. For instance, if you're having a workout plan that you're going to be doing it because it is a weight loss program, for instance. Now, you're doing it 3 days in a week. You have to be very particular on which days of the week are you going to be taking part in. You can plan for Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. So if you're doing it every week that way, so that one we can call it exercise because it's planned, it's repetitive, and still again, it is structured. Another one that's vital is the word sport. Now, who can tell me what do we mean by the word sport? We use that word almost now and then, every day. Or rather, we hear other people using it. What is the meaning of the word sport? Now, when you talk about sport, sport we refer to them to be organized and competitive physical activities. Now, these physical activities, they are institutionalized. That's what makes it the difference between the sport and any other physical activity. Now, what do you mean by the word institutionalization? Here it means that the rules and regulations of this particular sport are laid down. They are structured. They are being used globally. If, for instance, soccer is a sport, netball is a sport. But if, for instance, few girls in a class agree to play kati, that is not a sport, it's a physical activity because they have just agreed on their rules to use that particular time. Once they are done with that game, the following day they can have another similar game but with different rules. So that is not a sport. Then we have games. Games are contests, which are, the outcome is determined by three things. One, strategy, skill, and then further the chance. Now, when you're calling games contest because it involves two parties, you cannot have a game between yourself. So that means there are two parties that are involved, and that's why we're calling it a contest. And the outcome we are saying can be determined by three things: strategy, we have the skills, and the chance. Skill means that the skills that are acquired. For instance, for you to be a good soccer player, you must know how to kick the ball, how to dribble the ball, how to trap the ball using different parts of the body. Strategies, what are strategies that you use? For instance, when you talk about strategies like maybe defensive strategies, like maybe marking, man-to-man marking, zonal marking, those are strategies. Then chance. At times we find two teams go play. It comes to the end of the game, but none of them has scored a game or they have scored equal goals. Now, in that kind of a situation, they go for maybe extra time. When they go for extra time and still we have not determined the winner, they go for the penalty kicks. Now, the team that wins through penalty kicks, we can say that that was a very smart team. Now, it could have won out of chance. So that's why you're saying that the outcome of the game can be determined by either strategy, skill, or even the chance. Another one that is vital is the one physical training. Now, when we talk about physical training, we are looking at the systematic use of exercise to promote one, bodily fitness, strength, and this one, as we promote the strength through physical training, these are ones can really be mistaken. The one physical training. We cannot have physical training to train the mental. We train the body, the physical body. That's why we are saying that it's mostly used in the military connotation, the moment they are preparing their recruits. Another word, we have physical education. Physical education, this is an educational process just like any other, but this educational process, this normally uses physical activities like the skills to be able to acquire fitness, to acquire knowledge, to acquire, change our attitude. And these ones are all done towards development of the well-being of that particular person who is going through the physical education. Now, other ones that are going to be very vital for us, when you're looking at the history of physical education in sport, we are going to define the word Olympic. Now, Olympic, it's the competition, the games themselves. Like you talk about the modern Olympic games that, for instance, we were supposed to have Olympic games this year. Class, where were the next Olympic games supposed to be held? 2 weeks ago, these games were postponed to further notice. Who can tell me where were the games supposed to be held? Another word we are going to define is the word Olympia. Olympia refers to the city located far from the mountain that gave the site of the name. So Olympia in this case, these are terms that were mostly used during the ancient Olympic Games. And this word looked at the city where the games were held. For instance, if Kenya was to host Olympic Games, and Kasarani could be the stadium where the games are held. Kasarani is in Nairobi. Therefore, Nairobi becomes the Olympia. Olympia refers to the period of 4 years between one Olympics and the next. Now, it was there during the ancient Olympic Games, and it is there even today. So that period between one Olympics to the next. For instance, when did we end the last Olympic Games class? 2016. That's why the next games are supposed to be held the year 2020. So that period between 2016 and 2020 is what we call Olympiad. Then another word you're going to look at is the Olympian. Olympian refers to the participants or the competitors who take part in the Olympic Games. And we have the word Olympus. Olympus in this case refers to the mountain near the Olympia city. Now these are the terms that were very vital during the ancient Olympic Games. And that mountain where these games were taking part in Greece was called Mount Olympus, and that's where the name Olympus came from. Now that mountain, it has a height of 9,570 feet above sea level. Another word you're going to be hearing about when you're looking at the ancient Olympic Games is the one Zeus. Zeus refers to the god, the senior-most god of Greece, who these particular games were intended to appease. Then we have deities. This refers to other gods. We have the word Olympic flag. Now, this is very common. This word is used in our modern Olympic Games. This particular flag is one of the symbols of the modern Olympic Games that was instituted in 1921. And this one has 5 colors in 5 rings that are normally standing on the white background. And each one of them, each of these rings with its color represents a given committee that is involved during the preparation or rather during the Olympic Games themselves. Then we have the word rostrum. What is rostrum? Rostrum refers to that particular stud where the competitors, once they have won, during the victory ceremony, when they're being awarded the medals, where they stand. Then we have the Olympic torch or flame. Now, Olympic torch is there to show the spirit of these particular games, of the modern Olympic Games. And this torch is normally used to light the flame. And the flame of the Olympic Games is normally lit during the beginning of the event towards the last day. And the reason why this flame has to be on is to be able to show the spirit of the games. Then we have the declaration of the amateurism. This is the declaration that the participants sign to be able to say that they're going to win the games fairly. And then we have the victory ceremony. This is another symbol of these particular games. Once the participants have won a given event, the is going to be awarded the medal. And the medals are normally awarded in order of the gold, the silver, and the bronze. Then we have the athletic horse. Now this is the horse that is taken by athletes. Now all athletes don't stand to take the horse, but the captains of every participating team, they're the ones who take the horse on behalf of the other participants. And this is done with the host. The captain of the host nation is the one who raises the flag to represent the others, and is the one who recites the horse. Then we have another word you're going to look at is the All African Games. Now, All African Games are games that are normally participated by the African countries. So it's also referred to as the Pan-African Games. Then we have the Commonwealth Games, and these are games that are normally held, and the participants are the countries that were colonized by the British Empire. Then we have the psychology of sports. The relevant terms that you're going to see there are the ones like psychology itself. Psychology comes from the two ones, psych and logia. So psych means mind or soul, logia, study, love or science. Therefore, the one psychology refers to the study of mind or soul. Another word is sports psychology. And this one, we are going to look at the psychology of sports being a branch in psychology that looks at the connection between sport and psychology. This one looks at the behavior of human beings as far as the sport is concerned. How does psychology help towards the development of this particular sportsmen or sportswomen? The application of psychological theories as far as the concept to sport is concerned. Another word that's very key is the word motor development. And motor development here looks at the study of the origins of changes in movement behavior throughout the lifespan of somebody. Now, once a child is born, this particular child starts the movement immediately it is born, and when it is conceived, the reflexes of the movement of the fetus in the mother's womb, that in sport we define it to be movement, and we don't ignore it, and therefore that's where the psychomotor learning starts. So motor development is those stages of development of the motor behavior. A child can crawl when it gets to the age of crawling. A child can be able to walk when it gets to the age of walking. A child can be able to climb a tree when it gets to that age. But we can't have a 2-year-old child being able to kick the ball and move with it. So until it gets to that age. Then another word is the motor learning. Now, motor learning here refers to the study of the acquisition of movement skills as a consequence of practice or other experience. Now, the moment we acquire the skill, we can acquire them and we make them better either through practice or through experience. Now, even on normal basis, I take a skill, a motor skill, like for instance, walking, which is a very fundamental skill. We were not born walking. We acquired it as we grew. So that is what you're referring to, the motor learning. The walking came as a result of our growth, and therefore, with experience, we walk better. When the child starts walking, they walk 2 steps, they fall down. 3 steps, they fall down. But as time goes by, they learn the skill. Then we have learning itself. These are change in the internal state of the learner as a result of the instruction that is normally given. We say learning has taken place when there is a change in the person. If there is no change, then we can say learning has taken place. Another word we're going to use is the learn skill. That's very vital in this particular course. And this muscular sequence performed with precise control, making optimum use of strength, range of movement, and mechanical principles. So a skill cannot be done without using the strength. You must have strength. The range of movement here refers to the angle at a given joint that's given a given joint. For instance, if I do like this, the range of movement could be, it's above 90, maybe around 120 degrees. But if, for instance, I'm twisting my arm round, this is 360 degrees. That's the range of movement we're talking about. So that's a skill I've performed. Then we have feedback or knowledge of results, and this is the results that is communicated back while we perform a skill. Whatever is communicated to you, whether you have done the skill well or not. Now these ones, the feedback or the knowledge of results can come in 3 ways. We have the 4 ways. We have the internal, what you can also yourself be able to know that you have done it well. For instance, you're supposed to kick the ball and enter the goal or the mouth of the goal of football. And therefore, what you do is that when the ball gets in, you're already aware that you have done it well. So that is intrinsic or rather internal feedback. It has been that you know it. Then we have external. This is what is told by other people. For instance, you're doing very well in you're running maybe marathon of 10,000 meters. As you move on, others are telling you, you're doing well, keep moving on, get stronger. They are very far away from you. That's intrinsic communication. Then we also have concurrent. This is communication that is done as the event is going on. Like we are saying that somebody is telling you, keep moving on, the event is still taking place. And we have terminal feedback, what is communicated after. For instance, during a soccer game or netball game, we have what you call the pep talk. That's the time when you come during halftime to be able to be given the instruction on how you'll be doing it in areas that we can be able to perfect. Now that's communication is terminal because it's done at the end of the game. Then we have knowledge of performance, and this one refers to the information about the movement. This is movement, feel it or you feel it yourself. If, for instance, I want to do, I'm pushing the ball, the hockey ball, and I want to make a skull. Now what determines whether I'm going to skull? One, it is the stance on my feet. Then how I handle the stick and how I execute the skill itself. So the question here is, do I get to know whether that is going to be a good skull? Yes, the way I felt it myself. When immediately the ball left my stick, I can tell. So that communication that is coming to yourself is what occurring in the knowledge of performance. Then we're also going to look at the one plateau. Plateau here is the period of little or no progress that is made once doing the skill. Like I said before, that this is the period of arrested progress. However much you want to do it better, you can't do it better than that because you got to that particular point where you cannot be able to do better. It can come as a result of maybe, for instance, you are tired on what you're doing, therefore you can't do better. Or rather, you have acquired the objective that you wanted to acquire, or you're doing the wrong things, therefore you get to plateau. Another word we are going to define, this now comes in sociology of physical education and sport. We are going to define one like sociology. We are going to define the one sociology of sport or sport sociology. Now, when we talk about sociology, we look at the study of people, groups, institutions, human activities in terms of their social behavior in order within the society. And therefore, having seen that sociology, we are looking at the group of people, institutions. Therefore, sport itself, sociology of sports, look at the discipline. It's a sub-discipline of sociology, where now we look at the relationship between sports and the facets of society. These are things like institutions, like maybe religion, politics, education. How does sport relate to education? How does sport relate to the region? How does it relate to politics? How does it relate to recreation? Another word is cooperation. Cooperation is a form of social interaction where two or more persons work together. And these ones, they are working together towards a common end. That means they are gearing to get one thing in common. For instance, players in the field of soccer or basketball, they work in cooperation. That's why you find that the ball is being passed from one point to another. That's why they have the tactics, the formations that they're going to use, because they are working as one particular group. Then another word is conflict. Now, anytime we have two teams that are playing and they're all looking towards achieving one goal, and that's winning, therefore they must have the conflict. Now, conflict in competition is where parties are aware about the incompatibility. So you are aware about my incompatibility, I am aware about yours, and therefore, now, each one of us want to occupy a position that is incompatible in others' wishes. So we have that particular conflict, and that's bringing now the issue of the competition. Now, when you're competing, all of us want to acquire one particular thing, and that is winning. So competition, therefore, is a situation where each party wishes to occupy a better position than the other. Then we have the interscholastic sport. I said is the interschool or rather intercollegiate. Philosophy of physical education. We are going to define the one philosophy. Philosophy means love of wisdom, comes from the 1-2 word. Philos, that's the Greek word, means love of and then wisdom. Logic, as I said, is a branch of philosophy. That's the study of orderly or correct reasoning. Then we are going to look at the epistemology, that is the nature of knowledge or study of knowledge. The word axiology, that's borrowed from 2 Greek words, axia and logia, that means love, that means the study of values. Then we have the one metaphysics. I said this one is the ultimate nature of reality, looking at these that are beyond our reality. Then we are going to look at the philosophies that are widely used, like idealism. Like I said before, we look at the mind being the central focus for understanding. Pragmatism, experience, and not ideals in this case that are key. So in physical education, we are going to look how does the pragmatist view physical education as far as the pragmatism is concerned. Variety of activities are being presented, they are giving meaningful, and therefore the learners get a lot of experience. Then we have naturalism, and this belief that life is governed by laws of nature. Now, how is this law of nature comes in and comes to physical education? So the physical educator, one, can allow normal growth to the learner. It gives them the activities they can be able to do normally without interfering with them. Then they also emphasize on the individual participation so that they can be able to do it to their best. Another word we are going to look at is the experimentalism, and this is the use of the scientific approach to education. This is very common in physical education. It comes to the outdoor education, going out, learning outdoor through using the senses like the smell, the touch, and the others. Then we are going to look at the soccer, or rather what you call the association football. Now, when it comes to we look at the field itself of play, and we are going to look at different terms that are used. These are the things like the touchline. Touchline refers to the longest side of the soccer field. And this measures between 90 to 120. Then we have the goal line, the smaller line. We have the center line, that is the line that divides the field into two. The center circle, the circle where the game starts, the penalty area, that is where the penalty spot is centralized, and therefore that's the penalty area, the penalties are being involved. Then we have the penalty arc that measures 9.15 meters from the penalty spot. Then we have the goal area, where that is the jurisdiction of the goalkeeper. Dead ball. What is a dead ball, class? Who can tell me what it means to have a situation where we refer to ball to be dead? Now, a dead ball is a situation where the ball is not in play. It could have gone out. Maybe a foul or an infringement was done by one of the players, and therefore the game is not continuing. So that the situations we refer to the ball to be dead. Now, this is the field of play. You can be able to view. You can take a diagram. You can take this diagram of the layout of the field that is going to help you to understand better. Then, this is the penalty area I'm talking about. You can still make a diagram very fast so that you can be able to refer to it. Now, there are breaches, there are fouls, and the penalties involved in soccer. These are goal kick, the corner kick, the offside. These are things that you're going to look at. We are going to do them practically in the field. What is a direct free kick? Is it awarded? What are some of the fouls that are committed, or which area of the soccer has been breached to be awarded a direct free kick? Then things like throwing. The officials in the field, this refers to the game officials. We have two types of officials, the game officials, and then we have the team officials. Game officials refers to the referee, assistant referee, reserve assistant referee, the video assistant referee. Where we have the team officials, these are the officials who manages the team from the preparatory stages. These include the people like the coach, the assistant coach, the team manager, the team doctor, team trainer, team captain. Strategies that are used when it comes to this particular game of soccer. We have two types of strategies. They could be defensive or also offensive strategies. Now, then we're also going to look at different formations, and also practically in the field, we're going to look at the skills themselves in the field. Then in gymnastics, we are going to define the word gymnastic. That's a sport that is normally done that is normally very highly skilled. The participants are perfectionists. They require a lot of balance, they require strength, they also require agility, and also they must be very coordinated. Forms of gymnastics that you're going to look at. We have the traditional educational and Olympics, but more emphasis because we are in education, we're going to look at the educational gymnastics. Other types of gymnastics that we can just highlight are things like the rhythmic that are normally done during Olympic aerobics, acrobatic, aerobics, gymnastics, artistic, aesthetical gymnastics, and others. Then we're also going to define the word display gymnastics. And this involves a lot of dance that is involved by gymnasts themselves, the movement, the apparatus that are involved in doing it, things like the bar apparatus, things like maybe, for instance, the ones that when you're doing the votes, the voting boxes, these are the apparatus are normally involved. We're also going to look at the body shapes. I said earlier that body shapes, when we were doing the course outside, I talked about the body shapes, and I said that body shapes in gymnastics are the shapes that the body acquires when the skills are being done. And these skills can be, the body shape can either be rolled small. If you're doing, for instance, a backward roll or a forward roll, you tuck your head in between the legs, and therefore that body looks small and curved, look like a ball. But if, for instance, I'm doing, for instance, a swan balance, then the body looks big and enlarged. Then we are going to look at different skills. These ones are going to be done practically in the field, and that's what we are going to do in our further lessons, things like the balances, the rolls, the vaults, tableaux, and the others. That brings us to the head of our lesson today. Now, in our next lesson, we are going to look at the foundations of physical education, and more keenly, we are going to pay attention to the development of physical education and sport in ancient societies or ancient nations. Thank you so much.